thing about this situation is we have to kind of take a step back and look at it. We're 8th in the draft and we're 8th in cap space. We have the two things that you need to really, really rebuild a team. We have a lot of things in our favor right now. And even if we don't get Deshaun Watson, there's a possibility of a quarterback in the draft. And there's still a lot of free agent quarterbacks out there. Like decent free agent quarterbacks that may not be the answer, but can be the answer for at least a few years. And we have options.
Well, but that
have cap space in a draft and in a draft position. So
that list is kind of running low now, low now. Free agent quarterbacks, like you're either in on Deshaun or who? Carson Wentz has already been traded. Yeah. Like you're basically talking about Sam Darnold. And again, how much are you giving up? Like you're having to give up.
Dak Prescott.
Those are free agents.
Well, right. So you'd have to trade them. You would have to trade at least a second or a third round pick to go up and get them. And I've said this, man. Yeah. It is a problem that the Panthers are so thirsty. Like everyone knows that the Panthers need a quarterback. That means every team that we're gonna call about trading for a quarterback is gonna know that, and they're gonna drive up the price. Every team that we're gonna try and move up into the draft with is gonna know that we're desperate for a quarterback, and probably want to get in front of Atlanta too. So
that argument I think is also a bit flawed, right? I get there is a sense of deception, but right now there are so many quarterback hungry teams out there that if we call and make an offer, guess what they're going to do? They're going to call somebody else and say, oh, they're willing to do this, and that other quarterback hungry team. So regardless of our need,
the problem, everybody's always thirsty.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is, regardless of what we offer, they're always going to call somebody else and say, hey, the Panthers are offering this. Are you interested in doing more? And so, I don't think it's a matter of we're showing our hand. I think there is some of that, and obviously you'd like to have some of that kind of kept under wraps, but I don't think it's to the point where we have to really concern ourselves with our ability to actually get Deshaun. If we're not going to get Deshaun, it's because another team is willing to outbid us. That's it.
All right. So there's a couple of things I want to mention before we move on. One is you got to wonder if the David Tepper, Matt Rule, all newbies in the NFL game, right? You got to wonder if Cody's right, is if they're learning a lesson the hard way about how to play something in the off season.
Sometimes
is that the news that is leaked so that what they learned, these guys are learning. And look, it wasn't Fitterer maybe learned right away about when you make a deal and if it doesn't go through, guess what? Your name gets tagged on it.
Yeah.
And then your quarterback finds out about it. And then the people start trolling, right? So you got that one thing. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was that I don't really see the cap space, these clearing of this as anything corollary to Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, if we were somehow able to trade for him, it only count $10 million against the cap this year. If you could get Deshaun Watson, you could find a way to get $10 million off the cap. Just call the Saints up. They'll tell you how to do it while taking a nap.
Yeah, but the salary cap is a myth.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
It's next year that the Deshaun Watson money hits the $45 million. So it's not like he's got the cap money. You gotta wonder, are we starting to think about maybe targeting offensive linemen in free agency?
Yeah.
Are you thinking like Joe? Is that it's like you could go and get a left tackle, and these guys are Thuney. Who's the other guy? There's a couple of them. I mentioned them. You can maybe try to trade for Orlando Brown. You would need some cap space for this. Brandon Scherf. These are top end free agents. Maybe you go and do something like that. But again, we have 17 unrestricted free agents. We're going to need $30 million. Sounds like a lot. And it's cool that we're 8th in the league in cap money when we're usually like 28th. Coincidentally, we're the 8th pick, 8th in cap space, 8th pick. Mm-hmm. But it's not a ton of money, right? It's not like a celebratory amount of money. And on top of that, it's like kind of a shit. I don't know is it a shitty year to have money to spend? or not even money to spend, is that the cap shrank. We could have had more. You know, if the cap would have gone up, we would have been like 55 million. Then we would have talk about landing somebody. But the market contracted at the very moment we're trying to get into it.
Can we talk about the fact that I think that'll also impact the contracts these players get, right? I mean, I think it deflates them. Don't you think, like, at least for the bottom tier at the very minimum, and even towards the top end, there's going to be maybe second tier players who could have gotten squeezed another million, $1.5 million out or something like that. And then nope, teams are like this. Money fucking tight, bro. You can either
but players are still going to get paid bank though, and knowing what we have to pay, like maybe not Blockbuster, but none of that money really impresses me right now because I know what we have ahead of us, right? So we're going to have to pay Taylor Moton. It's looking like a sure bet. I'm willing to bet that we're either going to sign him to a new deal, which should be the number one option. I don't even want to do the franchise tag. Sign the man, get it over with, make you a contract that's good for both of you. A quick kick in the can down the road. Sign Taylor Moton. But worst case scenario,
don't you think it would count less against the cap too?
But that's what I'm saying. If you sign them,
it would be 15 million. It would just be like 11, and you have to, it's going to catch up with you later.
Yeah, you could backload it. You could put some incentives in there. There's a lot of different things, and that's where we're going to start.
He's healthy.
We're going to start to realize what kind of skills we have in our front office now, depending on how they work these new contracts. Another thing, and it hasn't happened yet, but dude, I wouldn't be surprised before all this is said and done if there is some news regarding Shaq Thompson. Because if you notice a trend, Scott Fitterer is taking an axe to all the bad contracts that Marty Herney signed. And I don't know if this is something to read into or not, but apparently Shaq Thompson unfollowed the Panthers on all the social media accounts too. So maybe him and his agents kind of know that something is in the works.
Maybe they tried to restructure his contract or something.
Either restructure him or made him know that if they're going to trade for any kind of player that they're open to including him in that trade. There's a number of different issues that you can kind of point to, but I really, Tony mentioned it like a podcast ago. Shaq Thompson's dollar amount. He's like the number 2 paid player on our football team, and he's just
crazy.
And he's not. Listen, Shaq Thompson is not terrible, but he is not worth that dollar amount.
He's not elite. He's not elite linebacker where he should be paid that money.
Especially for a 4-3 outside linebacker who doesn't rush the passer. I mean, I feel that there is something coming down the pike with Shaq Thompson. Either we're kicking him down the road to another team or we're going to restructure him.
That's tough.